The smoke is blue, thin, almost translucent. That's good. That means the wood inside the mound, sealed under 3 feet of earth, is turning to charcoal. But if the smoke shifts, if it goes clear, or worse, if it stops completely, that means oxygen has breached the seal. And when oxygen touches fire that's been burning for 6 days, everything inside turns to ash. Worthless ash. 8 days of work, gone. The man watching the smoke hasn't slept more than an hour in 6 days. He won't sleep tonight either, because the fire doesn't care about rest, and the smoke doesn't lie. This is charcoal burning, one of Britain's oldest professions, practiced since the Iron Age, 2,000 years, and today maybe a dozen people in the UK still know how to do it the traditional way, the way that requires living in the forest, sleeping beside a mound of burning wood, reading smoke like a language no one else speaks. The craft is simple in concept, impossible in practice. You stack wood vertically into a dome around a central chimney, cover it with dry leaves, then seal everything with damp earth to make it airtight. Drop burning embers down the center and wait for 6 to 8 days, watching, because if the temperature inside drops too low, the fire goes out and you have to start over. If it gets too high, the wood catches flame instead of smoldering and you lose everything. And the only way to know what's happening inside, under 3 feet of packed earth where you can't see, can't measure, can't control directly, is the smoke. Thick gray smoke means the wood is still raw. Water is evaporating, the fire is establishing itself. Thin blue smoke means carbonization has begun. The wood is losing its moisture, its volatile compounds, and slowly transforming into charcoal. Clear smoke, or no smoke at all, means disaster. It means air has gotten in. And air means combustion, full combustion, which turns charcoal into ash. The people who did this work were called colliers. From the Old English word for coal, they lived in the forests, not by choice, by necessity, because charcoal burning requires constant attention. You can't leave a mound unattended for more than an hour, maybe 2 if you're experienced and the weather is stable. So colliers built turf huts, small dome-shaped shelters made from branches, grass, and earth, next to their kilns. They lived there for the entire burning season, 23 weeks, from spring through autumn, entire families, children included. In medieval England, colliers were social outcasts. Their profession was listed among the dishonourable trades, alongside executioners and tanners, people whose work was necessary but morally suspect. There were rumors, accusations, that colliers practiced dark arts in the woods, that the smoke they conjured had unnatural properties, that their children, if they survived the harsh forest life, carried a stain that prevented them from entering certain guilds or professions. None of it was true, but the stigma lasted for centuries. What was true? Without colliers, Britain's iron industry wouldn't have existed. Charcoal burns hotter than raw wood, much hotter and cleaner. It produces minimal smoke once it's lit. And the heat is intense enough to melt iron ore, something wood fires can't do consistently. From the Iron Age through the 1700s, every forge, every furnace, every blacksmith's shop in Britain depended on charcoal. Nails, tools, weapons, horseshoes, all of it required charcoal, which meant the forests of medieval England were full of smoking mounds, and the men who tended them. The process begins months before the fire. Wood has to be cut, not just any wood, hardwoods, oak, beech, ash, dense timber that carbonizes well. The logs are cut to length, usually around 3 feet, and left to season, not completely dry, but not green either. Too much moisture and the wood won't carbonize. Too little and it burns too fast. When the wood is ready, the mound is built. First, you clear a circular area on flat ground. No slope, no rocks, just bare earth. At the center, you drive 3 stakes into the ground to form a chimney. This is called the fagan. Around the fagan, you stack logs vertically, hundreds of them, arranged in concentric circles, leaning inward slightly so they support each other. The stack grows into a dome, sometimes 10 feet tall, sometimes 15, depending on how much charcoal you need and how much wood you have. Once the wood is stacked, you cover it, first with a layer of dry leaves and grass. This is called the browns. It keeps the earth from falling between the logs and blocking airflow. Then comes the earth itself, damp turf and soil, shoveled over the entire structure in a thick, even layer. The goal is to make the mound as airtight as possible. No gaps, no cracks, just a smooth earthen dome with a single opening at the top where the fagan sticks out. Lighting the mound is the moment everything changes. Burning embers, usually from the previous burn, if you're experienced, are dropped down the central chimney. The fire catches. The smoke begins to rise from the top. Within hours, you start seeing it seep through the earth layer at the base. That's when you create the vents, small holes poked through the earth with a stick, positioned carefully around the bottom of the mound. These vents control airflow. Too many, and the fire burns too hot. Too few, and it goes out. You adjust them constantly, plugging some with earth when the smoke gets too thick, opening others when it thins, reading the smoke. So trusting your judgment, because there's no thermometer, no gauge, no way to measure what's happening inside except by watching what comes out. The first 2 days are the wettest. Heavy steam pours from the vents. The wood is releasing moisture, hissing. The smell is sharp, wood smoke mixed with water vapor. By day 3, the smoke shifts. Less steam, more smoke. Gray at first, thick and constant. This is volatile compounds leaving the wood. Resins, oils, everything that isn't pure carbon. By day 5 or 6, if everything is going well, the smoke turns blue, thin, almost invisible in certain light. This is the critical stage. The wood is carbonizing, turning black, hardening, becoming charcoal. If you see blue smoke, you watch it. You don't adjust the vents unless you have to. You don't sleep. You sit beside the mound and wait, because blue smoke can shift to clear in minutes. And clear smoke means the fire has breached the seals somewhere. Air is getting in. And when air reaches charcoal at 300 degrees Celsius, it ignites, not smolders, burns. Flames break through the earth, the mound collapses, and 8 days of work becomes ash. Colliers developed rituals to prevent this. Some checked the vents every hour. Some walked circles around the mound, feeling for hot spots where the earth felt too warm. Some claimed they could hear the fire inside, a low hum that changed pitch when something was wrong. Most just stayed awake, sleeping in 1-hour shifts, never more, because the mound didn't care about exhaustion. It burned whether you watched or not. And if you weren't there when the smoke changed, you'd wake to ruins. After 6 to 8 days, sometimes longer for very large mounds, the smoke stops, not because something went wrong, because the carbonization is complete. The wood has become charcoal. The fire has consumed everything it can without oxygen. At this point, you seal the vents completely, pack them with earth, make the mound airtight again, and wait for 2 more days, sometimes 3, letting the charcoal cool slowly inside its earthen shell. If you open it too soon, oxygen rushes in and the charcoal catches fire. You lose everything at the last moment, so you wait. Even though the work is done, even though you haven't slept properly in over a week, you wait. When the mound is finally cool enough to open, you break the earth seal, carefully, starting at the top, pulling away the turf and soil, revealing the charcoal inside. It's black, shiny, still warm. fragrant with wood smoke. Each piece retains the shape of the log it came from, but lighter, much lighter, because most of the weight was water and volatile compounds. What remains is almost pure carbon. And it burns hotter than anything else available in pre-industrial Britain. In medieval times, there were thousands of colliers. Every forest had them. Every ironworking region depended on them. They were invisible, outcast, but essential. Then came coal, mined coal. In the 1700s, coal began replacing charcoal for large-scale metalworking. It was cheaper, easier to transport, didn't require weeks of labor in the forest. By the 1800s, charcoal burning had declined sharply. By the 1900s, it was rare, and by 2000, it was nearly extinct. Heritage Crafts, the UK organization that tracks endangered traditional skills, lists 54 charcoal makers as of January 2025. But most of them use modern methods. Metal ring kilns, large steel cylinders with external flues. You load the wood, seal the door, and 10 hours later you have charcoal. No earth mounds, no smoke reading, no sleeping in the forest. It's faster, more efficient, more reliable. But it's not the same. The traditional earth mound method, the one that's been practiced since the Iron Age, is used by perhaps a dozen people today, maybe fewer, and they're aging. The knowledge of how to read smoke isn't written down. You can't learn it from a book. You learn it by watching someone who already knows, by spending 8 days beside a mound, by seeing the smoke shift from gray to blue to clear, by understanding what each change means, by making mistakes and losing entire burns, and then trying again. That kind of knowledge takes years to develop, and it only transfers if someone is there to teach it. Right now, the people who know are still working, still burning mounds in small forests across Britain, still watching smoke. But they're not training apprentices, not because they don't want to, because no one is asking to learn. The economic model doesn't work. You can buy imported charcoal for a fraction of what it costs to make it traditionally. Most of the BBQ charcoal sold in UK supermarkets comes from Africa or Asia, produced in ways that are often environmentally destructive, but cheap, so cheap that traditional British charcoal burning can't compete. When the last collier who knows how to read smoke retires, something will be lost. Not just a craft, but a way of understanding fire, a language spoken in smoke, a knowledge that's been passed down for 2,000 years. You'll still be able to buy charcoal, you'll still be able to burn it, but no one will remember what it took to make it the old way. The smoke is blue, thin, almost translucent for now, as long as someone is still watching, as long as someone still knows what it means. Under this video, there's a subscribe button. It's a small action, but it helps document trades that are still alive, barely, but still breathing. If craftsmanship still matters to you, if 2,000 years of fire knowledge feels worth preserving, subscribing simply means you want these stories recorded while someone still remembers. And before you leave, tell us where you're watching from. Did you know charcoal was made this way? What happens when the smoke knowledge is forgotten? Should ancient crafts survive even if they're not economical? Share your experience below. That's how knowledge stays visible, even when the practice is fading.